Shri Bhagavan Vacha Idam tu te guhya tamam Pravakshyami Anushave Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam Yajgyatva Mokshase Subhat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, because you're never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence." So it's important to see the prelude that Krishna is giving Arjuna, that, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization. So by default, people feel envious of Krishna. It might sound funny or like, how can anybody be envious of Krishna? But yes, it is true. And that's why we are in this material world, because that's our constitutional situation. Otherwise, we will be in the spiritual world with Krishna. The envy is, why Krishna? Why not us? Why is he getting worship? Why not me? So there's a comparison. So if one doesn't have that sense of envy, rather there is sense of love, sense of devotion, sense of servitude, that's when devotional service, devotional knowledge becomes accessible. So there's a lot of times you will come across people who say, "Show me God." So God is not somebody's servant that just because you ask, he has to show himself or her. No. So Krishna reveals himself to those who are his friends, that he considers are positively inclined towards him. And he doesn't reveal himself to those who are negatively inclined towards Krishna. So that's something to understand, that Krishna is partial, and is partial towards his devotees. He's partial towards those who love him, right? And that's where he's accessible. So he chooses not to be accessible to everyone. He chooses to be accessible to his devotees. In Brahma Samhita as well, Lord Brahma says that the Munis and the great sages who are speculating on Vedic knowledge, trying to understand God through the knowledge system only, with their intelligence, with their understanding of things, of Sanskrit and everything else, he says that for such people, it is almost impossible. They can be traveling at the speed of mind. So in modern science, we know that the fastest thing we know is traveling at the speed of light. But in the Vedic system, the fastest speed is given as traveling at the speed of mind. Because if you think of Vrindavan, you just reach Vrindavan, right? So it's very quick. You think of Vaikuntha. So mind travels very fast. So in Brahma, the Lord Brahma says that you can be traveling at the speed of mind and still not be able to reach God. But adurlabham atma bhakto, he is very easily attained by his bhaktas, by his devotees, right? That's the nature of Krishna. So by knowledge, by renunciation, by karma, by any of these other processes, if one tries to reach God, God is inaccessible. But he is very, very easily accessible through devotional process, through bhakti. And that's what chapter 9 is going to explain to us. That's why it's called the most confidential knowledge. Because why is it confidential? Because this is the way to get into Krishna's heart, right? But then you might say it's the Bhagavad Gita, and there are close to 1 billion copies of Bhagavad Gita circulating in this world. I mean, ISKCON alone is circulating around 700 million Bhagavad Gitas around the world. So it's not a confidential thing when it's published in a book and everybody has access to it. What do you mean confidential? So the point is, the confidentiality is the fact that it can be open. Somebody can read it in English, Sanskrit, whatever language, but still not understand it, still not comprehend it. And that's why you see there are so many people who have created the Bhagavad Gita with their own interpretation, with their own speculation, right? And yet that doesn't transform lives, that doesn't transform people's hearts. But the Bhagavad Gita as it is has transformed millions and millions of lives around the world because it is pure in its translation. Why is it pure? Because coming through a Guru Shishya Parampara all the way from Lord Krishna, who spoke to Lord Brahma, who spoke to Narad Muni. Narad Muni spoke to Vyasadev, Vyasadev to Madhvacharya, and like that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and coming down all the way to Srila Prabhupada to us. So the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the meaning, the purport and everything else that we see here is coming in that disciplic succession, unbroken chain, coming all the way directly from Krishna. And it's coming from great acharyas and great teachers and personalities who are pure devotees of the Lord, who are positively disposed towards Krishna. They're not speculating, they're bhaktas. So they take Krishna's words as it is and move it to the next generation, the next generation, the next generation. If you see, even me being a part of this disciplic succession, I don't add my own interpretation to anything. It is only purely based on what is being said by Krishna. And if I do mention something extra that is not in the purport, I will mention, like just now I mentioned Brahma Samhita. I will mention the scripture that is coming from. The Lord Brahma spoke in Brahma Samhita in this verse, and that's what I'm presenting. It's not my speculation, or I think Krishna meant to say, no, or Krishna probably meant, no. There's no maybe, probably, or any of that stuff. And that's why this Bhagavad Gita has the capacity of transforming hearts, right? So when bhakti comes from bhakta, when a devotee has devotion in his or her heart, such a person can give the devotion to another person. So bhakti doesn't come from karma, from jnana, from karma, it comes from devotion. And bhakti is the thing that with which we can purchase Krishna. Literally, Krishna becomes ours, right? And that's a wonderful thing, like the gopis, they purchased Krishna with their love. They would say, Krishna, dance. Krishna would dance. Krishna, do this and do that. And Krishna would be their order carriers, right? Krishna would be scared of Mother Yashoda's stick, although every fear personified is fearful of Krishna. So that's what happens when Krishna is purchased by love. He becomes incapacitated because whatever they say, that's it. Krishna is tied to the mortar. And Balaram is like, we can kill anyone. Who did this to you? Krishna's like, Mother Yashoda. Oh, okay. Nothing we can do about that. Mother Yashoda, loving mother, devotee in the mood of a mother. Krishna is the mother or father, but devotee in the mood of a mother. So there's nothing with all the Sudarshan Chakra and all the wonderful opulence Krishna has. He can destroy anyone and anything, but not those. Even though he doesn't want to be tied up, he wants to go play. There's nothing he can do because he's tied by the love of Mother Yashoda. So that's what. So this confidential knowledge is the knowledge with which Krishna can be purchased, and he doesn't want everybody to know. So people reading it with the lens of material scholarship will not be able to understand this. That's why it's confidential knowledge. You can read as much as you want, you can be a Sanskrit scholar, and you still won't understand it unless it is coming in the disciplic succession from a bhakta, from those who are positively disposed towards Krishna, and they give it to you. So it is knowledge and mercy that allows us to unravel the spiritual potency hidden within these verses. And then what happens? Realization comes. Gyan becomes Vigyan. Knowledge becomes realized knowledge. Theoretical knowledge becomes, aha, now I get it. And that is only possible. That's basically the confidentiality. That aha would never come. You'd be like, kind of like, okay, that sounds nice. But aha, I get it. That's a gift from Krishna. That's realization. That's Vigyan. So Gyan becomes Vigyan when Krishna's mercy is there. And Krishna's mercy comes when a devotee is truly seeking Krishna, is under the guidance of another devotee, is in the disciplic succession, Guru Shishya Parampara, right? That's where Krishna's mercy comes. And through mercy, only we can understand Krishna, not through scholarship, not through our intelligence. Because at the speed of mind, we can be traveling and still not understand the efficacy of these verses. So let's look at the purport a little bit. As a devotee hears more and more about the Supreme Lord, he becomes enlightened. This hearing process is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam. The message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are full of potencies. And these potencies can be realized if topics regarding the Supreme Godhead are discussed among devotees. This cannot be achieved by the association of mental speculators or academic scholars, for it is realized knowledge, right? Gyan becomes Vigyan, realized knowledge. Aha, I get it. The devotees are constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord's service. The Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and gives him the intelligence to understand the science of Krishna in the association of devotees. So Krishna gives us the intelligence to understand him, right? In 10th chapter, it will become even more clear, where Krishna says that dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite, that I give you the intelligence, dadami, I give you, buddhi yogam tam, buddhi, intelligence, yoga means to connect, buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. So when you're seeking for Krishna, he gives you the intelligence with which you can connect with Krishna, dadami buddhi yogam tam. So here also he's hinting at the same aspect. He's saying the Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of the particular living entity who's engaged in Krishna consciousness and gives them the intelligence to understand the science of Krishna in association of devotees. Discussion of Krishna is very potent. And if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he will surely make advancement towards spiritual realization. Lord Krishna, in order to encourage Arjuna to higher and higher elevation in his potent service, describes in the 9th chapter matters more confidential than he has already disclosed. The very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the 1st chapter, is more or less on the introduction of the rest of the book. In the 2nd and 3rd, the spiritual knowledge described is called confidential. Topics discussed in the 7th and 8th chapter are specifically related to bhakti or devotional service. And because they bring enlightenment in Krishna consciousness, they're called more confidential. But the matter which are described in the 9th chapter deal with unalloyed pure devotion. Therefore, this is called the most confidential. One who is situated in the most confidential knowledge of Krishna is naturally transcendental. He therefore has no material pangs. Although he is in the material world, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said that although one who has a sincere desire to render loving service to the Supreme Lord is situated in the conditional state of material existence, he is to be considered liberated. So liberation doesn't mean you have to wait till you die. Okay, you die and then you become liberated, moksha and all that. No, liberated means you can be liberated from the misconception of material existence. Misconception is, I am this body. And the right conception is, I am spirit soul, part of Krishna. So liberation means liberation from this concept. The concept of, I am this body, this is I and mine, right? This is my country, so this is good. And that's their country, so that is bad. This is my religion, so it's good. That's their religion, it's bad, right? My relatives, they're wonderful. People who speak my language are wonderful. Everybody else is kind of like different. So this differentiation comes from bodily concept of life. Spirituality unites us. You're white, you're black, you're Chinese, you're Italian, it doesn't matter. You're a soul, you're a conscious being, and you're part and parcel of Krishna. We have the same father, we have the same origin. When I was in the US, I would get attacked a lot of times, not physically attacked, but theologically attacked by people of other religion. And they would try to focus on the differences. And my strategy was always trying to focus on the similarities. And that's where they would get kind of like, foot in the mouth. Like, you guys are polytheistic. No, we are monotheistic. Bhagavad Gita, which is our main book, says there's only one God. Oh, you guys are into, whatever. And there's always like something, in Quran it says this. In Bible it says this. You believe in reincarnation, that is not in our books. Oh, yes, it is. And here is the verse. And here is where Jesus Christ talks about reincarnation. Oh, I didn't know. I'm going to go check. Oh, why don't you guys eat meat? Well, even in your religion, this is being spoken about. So commonalities. Now, I'm not saying you go to get into interreligious debate. Please don't do that. Especially don't do that on Facebook or any social media, because it just leads to a lot of terrible exchanges. I try to avoid them at all cost, unless somebody starts blaspheming Lord Ramachandra or Lord Krishna and talking about things that it comes from authorized people, and then I have once or twice gotten involved and really tried to put in the right thing and showcase how stupid their perspectives are. I don't like to do that, but sometimes when innocent people are watching, it is breaking their faith. So it is responsible. It is a responsibility of somebody who is in the disciplic succession to sometimes correct that behavior, especially when those things are coming from influencers and influential people. But again, like I said, I try to avoid such